Good morning. Today is Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. I love McGill University, and I am proud to teach there, and I have taught there for over 15 years now. Yes, I'm upset about certain things now, but that's true about any love relationship. I am very proud to teach a course that every other year invites an Israeli professor to teach my class for a week and to give one or more public lectures and to allow me and my guests the chance to spend time together and to collaborate. This past semester, I was worried because there have been calls for McGill, along with many other places, to disinvite Israeli academics and to cut ties with Israeli universities, but McGill has, to its credit, refused. And I was thrilled that in March we had an excellent guest from Bar Ilan Law School. My class loved his lectures. His public lecture was great, and his talk at ADATH was incredible. And I shared his ideas with you on Attendant 9 on the Sunday after he spoke. And I personally gained so much from being able to spend time in discussion, learning about his work, and discussing further collaboration that we plan to have. I am deeply disappointed that late last year, Canada canceled all Israeli exchange programs for security reasons, though I want to be clear, I have no reason to question the government's motive for doing so. But I present that as background to share something that affects me and my work, and many, many others. And it's a critical problem that we can all help with. Professor Netta Barak-Corren is a law professor at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. I started following her work early in 2023 when she co-authored a clear, balanced review of judicial reform in Israel and presented compromise proposals that were endorsed by experts from all sides of the debate. Tragically, last year, the heat was greater than the light. Hopefully, her proposals will get a second look, which is absolutely essential if we are to learn anything from October 7th. What I want to share with you this morning is taken from a recent interview that she did with Daniel Gordis, where she presents an alarming, critical problem, the widespread boycotting of Israeli universities and Israeli professors. It started on an individual basis in small numbers immediately after October 7th. And in the last month, it has grown exponentially. What started as a trickle has turned into a flood. And the rise, the increase, the flood of this terrible thing has risen along with the rise of encampments in various places, including in Montreal and in Canada and around the world. It started, as I said, individually. So if a professor in Israel would ask a professor, let's say in Canada, to write a letter of recommendation, which in the past would have been routine, all of a sudden the answer is no. Or if there was an opportunity to collaborate with an Israeli university or professor, where in the past, again, it would have been routine. All of a sudden now the answer is no. Also, there were disinvitations, meaning Israeli professors who had already been invited and accepted certain convention opportunities, speaking opportunities, teaching opportunities in all parts of the world. All of a sudden, after October 7th, the invitations were rescinded in many, many places. Not because of the stance of that person about the war, not because of any involvement, not because of any of their actual work. A lot of this is in the hard sciences. But simply because they're Israeli, simply because they're affiliated with an Israeli university. And they would make very dubious claims that somehow universities, because of the war, universities are somehow responsible or related or complicit in what they argue are human rights violations. Now, this has been done without any proof or evidence to support it, but it has had an immediate effect. Exchange students' programs were canceled. I mentioned to you in Canada, which was based on security reasons. I'm not alleging that that was based on a boycott. But all over exchange programs, I know students who had plans to start working in Israel this summer on an exchange program, let's say in the Israeli court system, and they were canceled. But much more than that, when Israeli professors would attend, let's say, an academic conference, there would be, and there's no other word for it other than bullying. Other participants would circulate a conference-wide statement to protest against the presence of Israelis. They would pressure the organizers of conferences to expel them. Sometimes the organizers of the conferences caved in and did that. Sometimes they withstood that pressure, and then they themselves started to be criticized on this wide basis simply for standing side by side with their Israeli colleagues. But what's really important is what we can do about it. And here, there are concrete suggestions. So, she describes a large part of the problem is that the general BDS movement to boycott Israel has been very successful in organizing and in spreading lots of misinformation. I'm talking today specifically about Israeli universities with no basis, but often there's no one else speaking back, rebutting their lies. So, for example, there is a tremendous amount of misconceptions that Israeli universities are apartheid universities, they're segregationists, they don't admit Arab students, they don't have Arab faculty, somehow they are collaborating with all kinds of atrocities, and nothing could be further from the truth. And so, what we can do, every single one of us, what we can do is help spread good information. Just for example, at Hebrew University, 16% of the students are Palestinians, and half of them are from East Jerusalem. And if any of us have been to the campus of Hebrew University, I have, it is widely diverse. And Israeli universities have so many centers that work on peace building and multiculturalism and supporting human rights. And the thing is, not many people know about this in the wider world. And often, when they get this information for the first time, they may pause. And they say, you know what? Maybe what we heard is not all true. So we need to be alert that when there is such an activity, to speak up and to share what is really happening at Israeli universities today. Because here's the truth. The real truth is everybody, virtually everybody in Israel, wants to find a solution to the problems that Israel faces. And if we look at this terrible, bloody conflict that's been going on for decades, well, one of the primary places to look for solutions is Israeli universities, because they have decades of experience in training, in teaching, in trying to practice conflict resolution, finding peaceful solutions, collaboration of Jewish, Muslim, Israeli, Arab, Palestinian work together. I've shared with you in the past some of those aspects of collaboration, but there are many, many more. So if you want to look for solutions, we should be looking to the places that have amassed massive bodies of knowledge on conflict resolution over decades, and have been contributing actively to attempts to finding solutions. And so, in fact, instead of cutting ties for Israel with Israeli universities, if we really care about peace, if we really care about the welfare of, let's say, Palestinians in Israel, what we really should do is be in favor of more ties with Israeli universities, because that can lead us to those solutions. And this is one of the reasons that I am so proud of our course and how we are fostering contact, not breaking it. And it's not just that there's a lot of misinformation out there. It's not just the lies, the falsifications, the facts that we need to correct. But it's also the values. I mean, one of the most absurd things that we all are baffled by is how so many anti-Israel protesters proclaim that they're acting on the basis of progressive values. But leaving aside, the terrible hypocrisy to proclaim progressive values and then not to believe women who have been raped by Hamas terrorists. Leaving aside all of that hypocrisy for a moment. But if you believe in progressive values, how can you shun the very institutions that are working hardest towards humanist liberal values, Israeli universities? There is a cognitive dissonance in what we see among anti-Israel protesters. And we need to try, maybe not with those hardcore people that will not listen to anyone, but those people who have simply only heard one side of the story, to present them with a more balanced view. And last, we need to support the leadership of the universities that, let's face it, are often facing very strong pressure. Now, I am upset with some of McGill's actions and inactions, but at the same time, let's be realistic. The administration at McGill, like other places, is facing tremendous pressure to do much more, to cut ties with all Israeli universities, to disinvite Israeli scholars. As I said before, they have not done so. But if we can help to provide at least information to them, to the leaders of universities, so that they at least have the information so that they can respond when someone says, disinvite this scholar, and they can then respond with accurate information, objective information. That's something that they need. We can help by sharing this information, by holding university leaders accountable, and by giving them the information they need to retain the contacts they have, and hopefully to expand the contacts they have with Israeli universities, and to recognize that Israeli universities are not the problem. They are, in fact, a major part of the solution. Thank you, Professor Netta Barak-Corren, for once again clearly articulating the problem and providing a reasonable and practical roadmap for all of us to help fix it. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.